Welcome to my designer class. My name is Mercy and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be using the stamp set Healing Hugs. And I wanted to show how I created this card and how I feel like it's very much stepped up from this version where I didn't do any clear embossing and I did not do a background. So I will show how I created this, and we will start off by getting out the Stamparatus. So let me set this aside and pull in my Stamparatus. And this time I'm going to try stamping from the side so you can see everything I'm doing. And let me grab some cardstock. I have a Whisper White cardstock, 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. And then I also will back it with Night of Navy. So I just wanted to show that. Okay, so getting right to it, I will open the Stamparatus and I'm going to put this up into this corner. I made this L using my Stampin' trimmer, and the reason is that closer to the hinge it's hard to get a really good image. So I'm going to use Real Red, and this is my old felt pad, which I feel like does a better job with the distinctive stamp sets. Oh, and I forgot to put something under here. So I'll do that real quick. I am using several stamp sets today, and I'll get into that more, including this Tranquil Tide for the stem. So I am just going to quickly stamp this, and I will probably do it 2 times, I think. And I just got a little bit of ink on myself, but red is such a difficult color from the standpoint of easy to get ink on your hands. Okay, so I'm really happy with that, and so I will set this aside. But before I do that, I wanted to show how I have this chamois, the Simply Chamois, and I absolutely love it. It's super thick. So that's one thing I really enjoy about it, is it does a really great job. And right now I definitely have to have this very clean because one of the steps I'm going to do definitely needs it 100% clean. Okay, all right, but for now I'm setting it aside, and I will now do the stem portion. And I'm using Mossy Meadow, and again for the stem I'm using this Tranquil Tulips. I hope the light isn't catching it badly here. Okay, so this is pretty straightforward. Just stamp with the spot. I like using the little spot. It's convenient. I got this with the Manly Moments. And this stamp set I'm using right now is a retired hostess set. So excuse my head, but I really think I need to look in here because this is kind of an important step. Okay, there, that turned out well. I'm happy with that. And obviously it looks a little weird with the single stem there. So we're going to bring in the distinctive leaves, and I think I see something on there. Oh, I'll just quickly wipe it on my Simply Chamois. Hopefully that little spot will come off. Okay, so again, I'm just going to quickly stamp this up. I could probably use the Stamparatus with this, but I don't really feel like it's completely necessary. Anyhow, so I want to make sure that I get it into the stem, and I want this particular one to be fairly low on the stem. So I hope, yes, success. So I'm happy with that. All right, once again, I'll stamp it up again and do the other side. Now this side, I definitely want to be higher because I want to allow room for my sentiment, which will be down there. Okay. Okay, another success. Wow, I'm on a roll here. I'm excited. You know how sometimes it doesn't go so well on camera. Those of you who have done this. Okay, so I'm just going to stamp off with that. And I'm actually not going to be using it again, but old habits die hard. And I'm going to go ahead and close up my Real Red stamp pad because that always bugs me to leave anything open. Plus there's a risk of getting ink on your hands. All right, now bringing the Stamparatus back in here. And this is where I feel like the card is really stepped up. And that is by using, I'm gonna make sure 100% sure this is ink free, because as we know, red is very difficult to get 100% off. And yes, I definitely still had a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this. This is the beauty of the Stamparatus, which is you can bring it right back and get it in the exact same spot. So I'm gonna bring my Versamark, and we're gonna be doing some clear embossing with this. So stamp it once, press firmly with your palm, and I did this one 2 times this way. Now the leaves and the stem I'm going to do a little bit differently, but I'll get to that in a minute. But for now, I definitely want this well inked up, which it is. So I'm going to set aside the Stamparatus for the moment, and I'm going to be bringing in my heat tool. But first, I need to get my clear embossing powder and go ahead put this on the rose, which I think this makes it all shiny and looks like it's wet, and it just really brightens it. You might lose a tiny bit of the detail, but nothing too noticeable. So I'm going to go ahead and start heating up my gun, because it definitely needs a little time to heat for best results. And we will get this. So you can see, I think I did a pretty good job getting a good coverage. And I will go, there's a little bit of warping that happens when you emboss, but you try to minimize it by preheating the gun. Okay, now it's coming up. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? It's gorgeous red, real red. I just love it. I just want to make sure I got everything really well, and I think I did. So the next step will be the leaves. They look pretty plain, and I want to have them shiny as well. So I have a Versamarker pen, and I'm going to use this to color the leaves. So, oh, I forgot the embossing buddy. Oops. I hope I don't regret that, but my son put it out of reach, my little child. So I actually can't reach it. So we're gonna just pray I don't have fingerprints on this. But I would recommend running the embossing buddy over the project before doing this step. But since it isn't possible, we will just hope for the best. Now, I mean, you want to do a good job here, but even if you didn't get it perfectly, it is clear, so if you got a little out of the lines, it's no big deal. Just want to get it that wet look again. And it will also come in handy for resisting the blue sky, which I created, which I think really adds to it too. I thought about doing black, but I did do one project with black, and the black kind of left residue, so I wasn't very successful at that. But the blue I didn't have any issues with. The only thing I would recommend is doing the sentiment at the end to avoid any of the ink dulling, the blue ink dulling the sentiment. So, oh, here it is. Okay, next repeat, and we'll see if I have any fingerprints, but I hope not. I think I was kind of careful, so. And you can see, if you miss any little spots, you can actually come back with the pen. So no need to panic. I'm going to start preheating the heat gun again. And I'll close this up while it's preheating. I hope you give this technique a try. I think it's really neat and fun. So here we go. It's coming up now. Maybe you can see it a little better. Okay, so there we go. I actually feel like I didn't get enough here, so I'm going to hit it one more time. And again, this is the beauty of doing this with a pen. You can definitely see if you missed any spots, if you, of course, tilt it in a certain way. So just one more time real quick, and then I will move on to the next portion, which is also really fun, and that is adding the blue sky background, which I think is very neat. Okay, so I'll set that aside. Go ahead and hit this one more time. The spots I feel like I didn't get very well. Much better. Okay, so I'm pretty satisfied with that now. I'm going to set my gun aside and move on to the final stage, which is coloring with the balmy blue. Now I have my little stamping sponge, and I label it and with the color it actually is. So it's easy to spot when I have a whole container of them. It's actually really simple. Now, because this is embossed, it will also resist any of the ink, which is, of course, very nice feature. I'm going to just put this under here because I don't want my work surface to show that too much. It's kind of silly. These are meant to use, but I kind of keep the grid paper as clean as I can, and then I can use it again. So I'm just trying to, and it's probably a good idea to go kind of in a circular motion here. And I'm not particularly being too concerned about the blue getting in, but I see actually I got a little bit in here. Oops, because the distinctive, when I stamped. All right, well, so be a little bit more careful than I was right there. But you get the idea that, especially around the edges, you don't have to be too worried because it is embossed with the clear embossing powder. It definitely keeps it from getting too yucky with the blue. Okay, so I am satisfied with that. I think that looks nice. So I'll quickly close up this, and I will next stamp the sentiment, and then we can assemble this card. All right, so I still have my Stampin' Majig, which I actually think it's very relevant, especially for rubber stamps. And the sentiment came from Petal Palette here, and I will show how to use the Stampin' Majig, which sadly is a retired item. So just make sure it's up in the corner and then go straight down. Now that is my sample, if you will, and will help me, guide me here. And there's not a ton of space here, which is why I'm using the Stampin' Majig. And I also want to make sure I get it very straight, because I don't like crooked things. I don't know about you, but I'm a little bit particular. So I just hold this still and then go straight down, and then ta-da! I got a good image. However, I did get a little bit of shadowing there, but you get the idea. I can't go too perfectly, right? All right. So now I'm going to bring in my rest of the elements to assemble this card, and we could call it a day. So I'm excited by this card because I just feel like this rose is so gorgeous, but with adding a little bit of touches with the clear embossing, it really changes it up. So this is, okay. When you do small areas, you have to sometimes pull it up a little. I've been using it for little areas. Anyhow, okay, so another thing I do like doing is adding the liquid glue, because I feel like it does help with the warping. And of course my glue, okay, here we go. Ooh, wow. I got a little too much there. You don't need that much, but I will just go ahead, center this, and it will then dry and help a little bit. I feel like it helps a little with the warping. And I feel like I got this a little bit off, but is it worth it? No. We're going to call it good. So this is the card, essentially. I will just do a little bit of more taping, and then I will be done very soon here. And I hope you give this a try. And if you like my video, please give me a thumbs up. And I will hopefully be making more cards, and you can try out some of these techniques and let me know in the comments below what you think. Okay, so there we have the card. Now my first one I like a little better because I didn't mess up with the blue, but I hope the tutorial helped and gave you an idea on what to do. So thank you again for watching. If you would like to order any of the products, email me at mewants3.com, and happy stamping. Oh.